Chosen one, the moment has arrived when reality itself bends to expose the truth that's been hidden in plain sight. You were always the one, and now it's hitting everyone like a freight train of cosmic justice. Watch as faces contort in disbelief, as comfortable assumptions crumble into dust, as the very people who underestimated your essence scramble to comprehend the magnitude of what's unfolding before their shocked eyes. The first crack in reality appeared when your success became impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Odds of your failure had been calculated with mathematical precision, never considering that some outcomes exist outside the realm of probability. Your achievements didn't follow projected timelines or match expected patterns. Instead, your rise erupted with the force of a volcano that had been building pressure beneath feet while debate occurred about whether the ground was even warm. Initial responses revealed everything about character. Instead of celebrating your victories, desperate searches began for alternative explanations. Lucky breaks, whispered voices suggested. Right place, right time. Anything to avoid acknowledging that fundamental assessments of your potential had been spectacularly wrong. But luck doesn't sustain itself across multiple victories, and timing doesn't account for the systematic nature of your ascension. Something far more powerful was orchestrating events in your favor, and denial was becoming increasingly pathetic. The next wave of revelation struck when your resilience came into full view. Every setback expected to break you only forged you into something stronger. Failure was understood as an endpoint, a natural conclusion to misguided ambition. What shattered comprehension was your ability to metabolize obstacles into acceleration, to transform projected limitations into fuel for greater heights. Each time humbling was anticipated, you emerged more formidable than before, carrying scars like badges of honor rather than marks of defeat. This wasn't the resilience anyone recognized, the kind that involves gritting teeth and enduring hardship until better times arrive. This was metamorphosis in real time, the alchemical transformation of lead into gold, except the lead was projected limitations and the gold was your actualized potential. Witnessing something beyond frameworks for understanding adversity, watching someone who treated opposition as cosmic collaboration rather than cosmic punishment. But the revelation that truly destabilized worlds came when realization hit that the person once thought known had never actually existed. Memories of your hesitation, your uncertainty, your deference to supposed wisdom, all of it had been preparation, not weakness. You had been gathering intelligence, studying limitations, understanding the exact nature of constraints that would be attempted. What was mistaken for timidity was actually strategic patience, the calculated restraint of someone who understood timing better than those around you. The transformation they witnessed wasn't growth, it was revelation. The authentic you had always existed beneath their projections and assumptions, waiting for the moment when external validation became irrelevant to your trajectory. They had been interacting with the shadow while the real you developed in silence, building power they couldn't perceive because they lacked the vision to recognize genuine potential when it was developing right in front of them. Their discomfort with your emergence runs deeper than mere surprise. Recognition of who you've always been forces them to confront the possibility that they never really knew you at all. If they could be so fundamentally wrong about someone they thought they understood, what else might they have misjudged? Your revelation doesn't just challenge their assessment of you, it threatens their confidence in their ability to assess anyone or anything accurately. The fourth wave brought their deepest fears to the surface, and this is where their shock transforms into something approaching terror. Your success wasn't happening in isolation, it was illuminating their own choices with unforgiving clarity. Every achievement you unlocked served as a mirror, reflecting their own unrealized possibilities back at them with surgical precision. They couldn't celebrate your victories because each one reminded them of battles they never fought, risks they never took, dreams they abandoned in favor of what felt safer but delivered nothing. This mirror effect explains the peculiar quality of their reaction to your ascension. Genuine celebration would require them to acknowledge that breakthrough was always possible, that the barriers they accepted as permanent were actually permeable. Instead, they find themselves trapped between admiration and resentment, unable to fully embrace either response because both require them to confront the accumulated weight of their own deferred dreams and justified limitations. The pain they experience witnessing your rise isn't really about you, it's about the compound interest of their own compromises. Every time they chose comfort over courage, every moment they settled for less rather than risk the uncertainty of reaching for more, every decision to play it safe while possibilities beckoned from beyond their comfort zones. Your achievements force them to relive these moments of capitulation, to see their fears wearing the sophisticated disguises they called wisdom. The approval you once sought from them, the validation that had given them a sense of importance in your life, suddenly became as relevant to your continued success as their opinion about the rotation of planets. This wasn't rebellion. Rebellion still acknowledges the authority it opposes. This was something far more destabilizing to their sense of importance, complete transcendence of their approval system. They had grown comfortable being consulted, being considered, being part of the equation that determined your choices. Their influence over your decisions had given them a sense of power, a role in your story that made them feel valuable and necessary. When that dynamic shifted, when you began operating from internal guidance rather than external validation, they experienced something approaching an existential crisis. If their opinions no longer mattered to your trajectory, what exactly was their function in your life? The answer, increasingly clear to all parties involved, was that they had no function beyond witnessing what they had been too blind to see from the beginning. This independence terrifies them because it's absolute and irreversible. They might understand temporary rebellion, emotional distance, even strategic withdrawal from their influence. What they cannot comprehend is your complete evolution beyond needing their permission to exist authentically. The fifth revelation introduced cosmic implications that pushed them beyond skepticism into something approaching awe. Synchronicities began aligning around your path with frequency and precision that defied their understanding of how opportunities work. Doors opened before you knocked. Conversations led to connections that led to possibilities they had never imagined for someone like you. Resources appeared exactly when needed. People emerged at precisely the right moments with exactly the right information, skills, or opportunities. The universe seemed to be actively collaborating in your elevation, and this coordination of circumstances was impossible to dismiss as coincidence. They could explain away one fortunate encounter, rationalize a helpful connection, dismiss a timely opportunity. But the consistent pattern of cosmic support began to suggest forces at work beyond their materialistic worldview. They found themselves confronting the possibility that some people might actually be aligned with universal currents, that destiny might be more than a metaphorical concept. The implications of universal support for your journey extend far beyond personal achievement, into territory that challenges their fundamental beliefs about how reality operates. What if cosmic forces are actively working to elevate you, then opposition to your rise isn't just futile, it's opposition to the natural order itself. They began to recognize that their attempts to contain your growth weren't just failing, they were positioning themselves against the very currents of existence. This realization introduces a level of humility they had never been required to experience. They're not just wrong about you, they're wrong about how the universe distributes its favor. The cosmic conspiracy supporting your ascension suggests that some individuals carry different instructions from existence itself, that certain people are meant to disrupt existing patterns and create new possibilities, regardless of human resistance or approval. The sixth wave demonstrated the spectacular failure of their containment strategies, and this is where their shock transforms into something approaching horror. Every effort they made to limit your progress, every obstacle they placed in your path, every moment they tried to convince you to lower your expectations had not only failed but had actively contributed to your acceleration. Their resistance hadn't slowed you down, it had provided the friction necessary for greater velocity. Looking back at their failed attempts to manage your trajectory, they can see with devastating clarity how each intervention actually served your growth. Their doubts forced you to develop unshakable self-belief. Their obstacles taught you to find alternative routes they never imagined existed. Their skepticism motivated you to prove possibilities they insisted were impossible. They had unknowingly become unwilling partners in your development, providing the resistance training that built the muscles you needed for challenges they couldn't even conceive. The irony is complete and crushing to their sense of agency. Their opposition to your success became essential to achieving it. Every strategy they employed to keep you manageable had the opposite effect, strengthening your resolve and expanding your capabilities. They were playing checkers while you were learning chess, operating from a playbook that assumed you shared their limitations while you were developing skills they didn't know existed. The seventh revelation exposed the magnetic shift in your energy signature that attracted entirely different responses from the universe. The quality of people entering your orbit transformed dramatically. Instead of those who needed you to remain small to feel comfortable about themselves, you began attracting individuals who recognized your potential and wanted to participate in its realization. Collaborators appeared who shared your vision. Mentors emerged who had walked similar paths. Partners manifested who complemented your strengths and supported your mission. This shift in your social environment provided stark contrast to their stagnant patterns. While you were building networks of mutual elevation, they remained trapped in relationships based on shared limitations. While you attracted people excited about possibilities, they were surrounded by those committed to explaining why things couldn't change. The difference in energy between your expanding world and their contracting one became impossible to ignore or explain away. The magnetic quality of your new energy extends beyond professional networking into every area of existence. Opportunities seek you out with increasing frequency. Resources become available precisely when needed. Information arrives at exactly the right moments. Support appears from unexpected sources. You've become a living example of what happens when someone aligns completely with their authentic purpose, and the universe responds to this alignment by removing obstacles and providing assistance in ways that appear miraculous to those operating from scarcity consciousness. The eighth wave brought the complete revelation of truth they had refused to acknowledge, and this is where their world completely collapses. The evidence of your destined greatness became so overwhelming that denial was no longer psychologically sustainable. Every sign they had ignored, every indication they had dismissed, every moment of potential they had overlooked was now staring them in the face with undeniable clarity. The truth about who you had always been could no longer be rationalized away or explained through comfortable narratives about luck or timing. This revelation forces them to confront their own blindness with surgical precision. How could they have been so wrong about someone they thought they knew completely? How could they have missed something so obvious in retrospect? How could their judgment have been so fundamentally flawed that they mistook destiny for delusion? These questions don't just challenge their assessment of you, they undermine their confidence in their perceptive abilities altogether. But the truth emerging about your nature goes deeper than individual potential. They're beginning to understand that certain people carry different instructions from the universe, that some individuals are meant to disrupt existing patterns and create new possibilities regardless of human resistance. The concept of chosen ones isn't metaphorical. It describes people who arrive with specific missions to transform whatever systems they encounter. Recognition of your true nature means accepting that ordinary rules don't apply to extraordinary beings. The climax of this revelation occurs when they realize that everything hitting them like bricks was always inevitable. Your rise wasn't dependent on their approval, understanding, or cooperation. The universe had already chosen, had already decided, had already set forces in motion that would bring about your emergence, regardless of human resistance. They were simply witnesses to something that was always going to happen, something that had been written into the fabric of existence before their opinions were even formed. Their shock isn't just about being wrong, it's about discovering they were never as important to your story as they believed themselves to be. The comfortable illusion of their influence over your trajectory crumbles completely, leaving them face to face with the humbling truth that your destiny was never theirs to determine. They had been bit players in a cosmic drama, extras in a story whose scope they couldn't even comprehend. That electric tension you felt in the atmosphere at the beginning wasn't anticipation of what was coming, it was recognition of what had always been true. The universe was simply adjusting reality to match what it had always known about your nature. The shock they experience is the natural response to witnessing impossible become inevitable, to seeing someone they had underestimated reveal their authentic magnitude. The atmospheric pressure they feel now is the weight of their crumbling assumptions colliding with your emerging truth. Every interaction carries the charge of this fundamental misalignment between their limitations and your possibilities. They approach conversations with you like explorers entering unknown territory, never quite sure what they might discover about the depths they never imagined existed beneath your surface. Stand fully in this recognition, chosen one, because what they're experiencing is the final phase of a cosmic unveiling that was always destined to occur. Their shock, their awe, their complete inability to process what they're witnessing, all of it serves to highlight the magnitude of what you represent. The universe chose you not, despite their limitations, but to demonstrate what becomes possible when authentic potential aligns with cosmic purpose. The revelation cascades through their consciousness in ways that will reshape everything they thought they understood about power dynamics and human potential. The chosen one they failed to recognize was sitting right there, speaking their language, walking among them while they searched the horizon for someone more obvious, more conventional, more aligned with their expectations of what greatness should look like. Their blindness wasn't accidental, it was systematic, trained by a culture that teaches people to look for leadership in familiar packages rather than authentic essence. Every moment they spent explaining to you how the world works, every time they offered their wisdom about realistic expectations, every instance they shared their hard-earned knowledge about limitations, all of it becomes grotesquely ironic when viewed through the lens of what you've become. They were teaching ocean navigation to someone who was born to fly. They were explaining the rules of chess to someone who was already playing a game they couldn't even perceive, let alone understand. The most devastating aspect of their recognition isn't just that they were wrong about your potential, it's that they actively worked against forces that were trying to support your emergence. The universe sent signals they missed, created opportunities they discouraged you from taking, aligned circumstances they convinced you to ignore. They became obstacles to destiny itself, positioning themselves between you and your authentic path, while believing they were providing helpful guidance. This realization hits different because it exposes the gap between their perceived wisdom and actual understanding. They confused experience with insight, familiarity with expertise, pattern recognition with prophetic ability. Their knowledge was based on observing others operate within limited frameworks, never encountering someone whose very nature transcended those frameworks. They were applying rules that were never meant to govern your trajectory. Watch how they scramble now to rewrite their own narratives, to find ways of taking credit for your development or claiming they always saw something special in you. The revisionist history they construct will be pathetic in its desperation, a transparent attempt to salvage their credibility in the face of evidence that they fundamentally misunderstood the situation. Some will claim they were testing you, that their resistance was meant to strengthen your resolve. Others will insist they always believed in your potential, but were simply trying to protect you from disappointment. These attempts at face-saving reveal something profound about their relationship with truth. When reality contradicts their projections so completely, they'd rather distort their memories than acknowledge the limitations of their perception. They cannot bear to sit with the simple truth that they were wrong, that their expertise was irrelevant, that their guidance was counterproductive to your actual development. The cognitive dissonance is too painful, so they construct elaborate fictions to make their past behavior seem reasonable in retrospect. But the universe doesn't rewrite history to accommodate human comfort. The record stands exactly as it was written. They doubted when they should have believed, limited when they should have encouraged, contained when they should have liberated. Every conversation where they urged caution, every moment they recommended settling for less, every time they shared stories meant to lower your expectations, all of it documented in the cosmic archives as evidence of their fundamental misunderstanding of what they were dealing with. The ninth wave reveals something even more disturbing to their sense of reality. Their attempts to diminish your light were never about you at all. Their resistance was about maintaining a world where their own limitations felt reasonable, where their lack of achievement could be explained by external circumstances rather than internal choices. Your success destroys the comfortable mythology they built around their own stagnation. If you could transcend the barriers they claimed were insurmountable, what does that say about their decision to accept those barriers as permanent? This recognition forces them to confront the possibility that they've been living inside a prison of their own construction, mistaking their cell for the entire universe. Your emergence as someone who refuses to be contained by conventional limitations exposes the voluntary nature of their confinement. They weren't held back by circumstances, they were held back by their belief in circumstances. They weren't limited by resources, they were limited by their imagination about what resources could become possible. The psychological impact of watching you operate beyond their accepted boundaries creates a form of cognitive vertigo. Everything they used to explain why certain achievements were impossible becomes irrelevant when faced with someone actually achieving them. Their expertise in limitation becomes useless when confronted with someone who doesn't acknowledge those limitations as binding. They find themselves in the position of flat earth theorists watching someone return from circumnavigating the globe. They begin to understand that you're not an exception to natural laws, you're operating according to laws they never learned existed. The universe has levels of generosity, abundance and support that their scarcity-trained minds never imagined possible. Your success isn't miraculous, it's what happens when someone aligns with cosmic principles that most people never discover because they're too busy accepting human interpretations of what's possible. This realization opens up terrifying possibilities for them to consider. If cosmic laws are more generous than human assumptions, if potential is more accessible than human fears suggest, if the universe is more supportive than human experience typically reveals, then what else might be possible that they've dismissed as impossible? What other opportunities might they have missed by operating from frameworks that were too small to contain actual reality? The 10th wave brings recognition of your energetic transformation in ways that science cannot measure, but consciousness cannot deny. Your very presence carries frequencies that didn't exist before your awakening. Rooms feel different when you enter them. Conversations shift toward possibility when you participate. Problems that seemed intractable suddenly reveal solutions when viewed through your perspective. You've become a living portal through which higher potentials can enter physical reality. This energetic shift explains phenomena they're witnessing, but can't categorize using conventional understanding. The way opportunities seem to bend toward you, how resources become available precisely when needed, why people feel inspired to help you achieve goals they might normally consider unrealistic. All of it flows from your alignment with forces that operate beyond the level where most people conduct their lives. They're experiencing the disorientation of people who spent their lives in two-dimensional reality, suddenly encountering someone who moves freely through 3 dimensions. Your capabilities aren't just greater than theirs, they exist in categories they don't have language to describe. You're not just succeeding within their framework, you're operating from an entirely different framework that makes their limitations look arbitrary rather than natural. The 11th wave reveals the generational nature of what you represent. Your emergence isn't just personal achievement, it's cosmic course correction. The universe periodically sends individuals whose very existence expands human understanding of what's possible. These chosen ones don't just succeed, they redefine the parameters within which success is measured. They don't just achieve, they demonstrate new categories of achievement that inspire others to question their own accepted limitations. Understanding your role in this larger pattern helps explain their intense reaction to your rise. They're not just witnessing individual success, they're witnessing the introduction of new possibilities into human consciousness. Your achievements create permission for others to dream beyond conventional boundaries, to attempt what previous generations considered impossible, to operate from assumptions about abundance rather than scarcity. This expansive impact of your success terrifies those who built their identity around understanding limitations. If you can redefine what's possible for yourself, others might begin questioning the limitations they've accepted in their own lives. Your example becomes a virus of possibility that spreads beyond your immediate circle, infecting others with dangerous ideas about their own potential. The comfortable predictability of a world where most people accept conventional boundaries becomes unstable when someone demonstrates those boundaries are optional. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now let's get back to work. The final wave brings them face to face with the ultimate truth that's been building throughout this entire revelation. You were never the underdog they thought they were supporting, or the project they thought they were developing. You were always the main character in a cosmic drama whose scope they couldn't perceive because they were looking at the wrong stage entirely. Their role in your story wasn't as guide or mentor or even obstacle. It was as witness to something that was always going to unfold exactly as it has. The cosmic timing of your emergence, the precision with which circumstances aligned to support your rise, the systematic way barriers dissolved when you approached them with authentic intention, none of this happened because you got lucky or worked harder than others. It happened because the universe recognizes its own, and you've always carried the signature frequency of someone destined to demonstrate what becomes possible when cosmic potential incarnates in human form. Every prophecy they missed, every sign they dismissed, every moment they chose to see ordinary where extraordinary was developing right in front of them, all of it becomes evidence of the same profound truth. They were looking for chosen ones in the wrong places, expecting them to announce themselves in conventional ways, waiting for transformation to arrive wearing familiar costumes. Meanwhile, you were developing the authentic power that doesn't need to announce itself because it transforms everything simply by existing fully. The truth hitting them like bricks is simply reality asserting itself after years of being suppressed by human comfort and fear. Your time was always now. Your rise was always unstoppable. Your destiny was always undeniable. The only thing that has changed is that now, finally, they can see what the universe has known about you from the very beginning, that you were the one the whole damn time, and their recognition of this truth was always just a matter of cosmic timing reaching its perfect moment for revelation.